The Forgotten Rift. It started with a sound, a faint metallic hum that reverberated through the small town of Hawkins, Indiana, long after the calamities surrounding 11 and the Upside Down were supposed to be over. Most people had moved on, desperate to forget the horrors that nearly consumed their lives. But the darkness never truly left Hawkins. It lingered, silent and patient, waiting for the perfect moment to resurface. Caleb Dunn had just moved to Hawkins with his dad, a retired military engineer. Their new home was on the outskirts of town, eerily close to the ruins of the old Starcourt Mall. The locals rarely talked about the mall or the events that had led to its destruction. Caleb's dad seemed drawn to the location, spending his nights tinkering in the basement, which had been converted into a makeshift workshop. One night, Caleb woke to a low, thrumming vibration coming from the floor beneath his bed. It wasn't the sound of his dad's tools, it was deeper, almost alive. He crept down the stairs, tiptoeing toward the basement door. "Dad?" he called out, his voice trembling. The sound stopped. In the silence, Caleb pushed the door open, revealing a room dimly lit by a single hanging bulb. His dad was standing in front of a strange device, something that looked cobbled together from scraps of metal and wires. At the center of it was a circular panel that glowed faintly, casting eerie shadows across the walls. What is that?" Caleb asked. His dad turned to him, his face pale and tight with unease. "Go back to bed, Caleb. You weren't supposed to see this. Part 2. The device." Caleb couldn't sleep that night. His dad's ominous command and the strange machine stayed imprinted in his mind. The next day, after school, he snuck back into the basement. The machine was still there, dormant but humming faintly, almost like it was breathing. On the workbench lay a journal, its pages filled with sketches and notes in his dad's handwriting. Words like rift anomalies, residual energy, and dimensional overlap leapt off the pages. At the bottom of one page, scrawled hastily, were the words, "Do not open." Before Caleb could decipher more, the machine roared to life, filling the basement with an unnatural light. The circular panel in the center began to spin, and an image appeared within it. Something dark and shifting, like a storm trapped behind glass. Suddenly, a low growl echoed from the panel, sending a chill down Caleb's spine. He stumbled back just as his dad stormed into the room, slamming the journal shut. "I told you to stay out of here," his dad barked, his voice laced with panic. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "What is that thing?" Caleb demanded. "What are you working on?" His dad hesitated, his eyes darting toward the machine. "It's a portal, a rift connected to something else. Something we thought was gone. The Upside Down," Caleb whispered. Part 3. The New Threat. Over the next few days, strange occurrences escalated in Hawkins. Shadows seemed to stretch longer than they should, even in broad daylight. Caleb's best friend, Maya, claimed she saw a creature lurking near the woods. A tall, spindly figure with glowing red eyes. And then there were the disappearances. First, a neighbor's dog, then a classmate who never made it home from school. Caleb confronted his dad again, demanding the full truth. Reluctantly, his dad explained, "After the Starcourt incident, remnants of the Upside Down's energy were detected beneath the mall. The government had abandoned the site, but private contractors, his dad included, had been tasked with studying the residual energy. The machine in the basement was designed to stabilize the rift and keep it closed. But something had gone wrong. It's not just a portal anymore," his dad admitted. "It's alive. It's hungry." That night, Caleb and Mia decided to investigate the Starcourt ruins themselves. Armed with flashlights and bikes, they ventured into the crumbling mall. The air inside was heavy, filled with a metallic tang that made their skin crawl. At the center of the wreckage, they found a gaping hole in the floor, pulsating with a faint red glow. "What is that?" Mia whispered. "It's spreading," Caleb said, his voice barely audible. "The rift is growing." Part 4. The Whispering Entity. As Caleb and Mia peered into the hole, they heard it. A faint melodic whisper that seemed to come from everywhere at once. It wasn't in English, but they could feel its meaning, like it was speaking directly to their minds. "Come closer. See the truth." Against their better judgment, they inched forward. A shadowy tendril shot out of the hole, wrapping around Caleb's ankle. Mia screamed, grabbing him and pulling him back just as the tendril dragged him closer to the edge. They fled the ruins, but Caleb couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed them. Back home, the whispers began. They started softly, barely audible, but grew louder each night. Caleb could hear them in his room, in the walls, and even in his own thoughts. He started seeing shadows in the corner of his eye, shadows that didn't belong to anything in the room. Mia wasn't faring much better. She confided in Caleb that she'd been having nightmares about the spindly creature from the woods, only now it was in her house, standing at the foot of her bed. Part 5. The rift expands. Caleb's dad grew increasingly frantic, working day and night to stabilize the rift. But the machine wasn't enough. The portal in the basement began to pulse with the same red glow as the hole in Starcourt, and the growling noises grew louder. Then came the night when Caleb woke to find his dad missing. The basement door was ajar, and the machine was gone. A trail of scorched earth led from the basement into the woods. Caleb and Mia followed it, their flashlights cutting through the dark. The trail ended at an abandoned shack deep in the forest. Inside, they found Caleb's dad standing before another rift, this one much larger. His face was gaunt, his eyes sunken, as if the rift had drained the life from him. The whispers surrounded them, deafening now. "They're coming through," his dad said, his voice hollow. "I tried to stop it, but it's too late." The rift erupted, and a massive creature emerged, a grotesque amalgamation of limbs, eyes, and teeth. It towered over them, its very presence radiating despair. Caleb and Mia barely escaped as the creature unleashed a piercing scream that seemed to shatter reality itself. Part 6. The Final Stand. Realizing they couldn't run ever, Caleb and Mia devised a plan to destroy the rift. Using notes from his dad's journal, they learned that the rift fed on fear and despair. By confronting their deepest fears and refusing to succumb, they could weaken it. The climax sees Caleb, Mia, and his dad facing the creature head-on. Caleb confronts the memory of losing his mom. Mia faces the fear of being abandoned, and his dad battles the guilt of unleashing the rift in the first place. Their combined defiance weakens the creature, but at great cost. In a desperate move, Caleb sacrifices himself, luring the creature into the collapsing rift. The portal closes, sealing Caleb and the entity inside. Mia and his dad are left behind, forever haunted by the sacrifice. Months later, Hawkins seems peaceful again, but Mia hears the whispers at night. In the reflection of her mirror, she sometimes sees Caleb's face, his expression twisted in silent agony. The rift may be closed, but its darkness lingers, waiting for the next crack to appear.